Chosen ones, your destiny was taken from you, but now it has been returned. Hear this, as if a drumbeat reverberates in your chest, awakening every part of your being to rise and reclaim what's always been rightfully yours. You've stood at the edge of your potential, glimpsing a greater future just out of reach, only to watch it slip away as someone took your opportunities or dimmed your brilliance. But fate cannot be held captive forever. The same spark that once flickered weakly within you is now roaring back to life, ensuring no force on earth can bind your destiny any longer. You, the chosen one, are on the verge of an awakening unlike anything you've known, where the fractured pieces of your future will be restored to your soul. If you're ready to embrace this unstoppable resurgence, like this video, subscribe, and comment 77 below to declare your readiness for the profound transformation coming your way. Chapter 1. The Lost Fortune. At first, everything seemed in perfect alignment. Your dreams felt close enough to touch. Visions of a life full of purpose, creativity, and a deep sense of calling. Then, like a cloud covering the sun, your momentum faltered. Some might have called it bad luck. Others might have shrugged and said, "That's just life." But you knew it was something deeper, a gnawing feeling that part of you was being taken away. That's when the strange coincidences started to appear. Maybe someone else succeeded using ideas you once shared, or you noticed your own qualities being reflected back in distorted ways by those who seemed to admire you, yet were secretly draining your essence. It started quietly. At first, you might not have noticed for weeks or months, but soon the lack of progress and the slow drain of your energy became too real to ignore. In the silence of late nights, you found yourself grappling with the painful suspicion that your destiny was no longer truly yours. This overshadowing wore you down. Achievements that should have been yours landed in someone else's lap. The path you set out on became crowded with doubt and confusion, as though you were wandering through a maze with no clear exit. Every time you caught a glimpse of hope, it seemed to vanish into someone else's hands. You questioned your purpose, wondering if you had imagined your potential from the start. Yet something stirred in your spirit, refusing to be extinguished. A hidden reserve of grit kept you from completely surrendering to despair. This unwavering resolve urged you to keep seeking an opening in the labyrinth that held you captive. It was a quiet, persistent flame, reminding you of your own uniqueness and the powerful promise it carried. Over time, you realized there must be a design far larger than this confusion. A plan that could right every wrong turn, if only you dared to believe in it. You recognized that despite the forces working against you, you were never fully alone. That flicker of intuition, the faint glow of your deeper calling, hinted that the story wasn't finished. Something was coming, a shift that would bring back what had been taken from you. And when it finally arrived, you would stand in awe of how swiftly the darkness peeled away, leaving you radiant with potential once again. Chapter 2. The Thief of Possibilities. You might have encountered this presence in the form of a friend who always seemed too enamored with your ideas, or a partner whose sweet words concealed a driving envy. Perhaps it manifested as a colleague who graciously borrowed your concepts and wanted to claim you'd worked tirelessly to earn. Regardless of its face or title, the thief of possibilities had one goal: to drain your gifts and wear them like a trophy. Such a person may not always do this knowingly. Some people walk around like empty vessels, desperate for another spark to fill their hollowness. They see your passion, your drive, and your natural ability to attract opportunities. Instead of developing their own gifts, they latch on to your radiance, siphoning what they can in an attempt to claim it as their own. These individuals often begin by praising you excessively, marveling at your creativity or applauding your success, only to gradually whittle away your confidence behind the scenes. This slow theft can feel like awakening in a world where color has turned to gray. Your usual zest for life fades, replaced by an odd sense of disorientation. The original hopes and ambitions that once propelled you forward now seem distant, as though they belong to someone else. It's like living in a state of perpetual jet lag, never fully grounded in your own dreams. Yet beneath the surface, your intuition has likely been ringing alarm bells. You see the signs: unexplained fatigue, diminished excitement for what once thrilled you, a creeping suspicion that your progress is stalling despite your best efforts. Sometimes it arrives through sudden waves of jealousy aimed at you, as though they resent the glimmer they see in your eyes. In other moments, it might appear as a cascade of bizarre coincidences, like your old ideas popping up under someone else's name, or your style, your words, and even your mannerisms surfacing in a person who used to watch you closely. If you look closely enough, you'll find a pattern, a blueprint of how they operate. By sowing seeds of self-doubt, they convince you to question your direction. By mirroring your talents, they blur the line between your identity and theirs. Over time, you end up feeling as though you're peering at your life through a window while someone else stands center stage. This is where you must remember that the universe, or the hand of the divine, doesn't overlook justice. The orchestrator of destinies has a keen eye for imbalance. For a season, you might feel overshadowed, but no darkness can eclipse a light that was meant to shine. Eventually, the cracks in the thief's facade will become too large to conceal. A cosmic recalibration stirs, gathering momentum behind the scenes, ready to overturn the false narrative and bring your lost fortune home to roost. And when it does, your rightful purpose, long overshadowed, will finally surge into view. Chapter 3. The Awakening That Couldn't Be Silenced. For a time, it might have seemed like all was lost, that your voice had been drowned out in a cacophony of someone else's echo. But destiny has a way of asserting itself, especially for the chosen ones. One day you felt a spark, small but searing, within the very core of your being, flaring up to remind you that no matter how thoroughly your past seemed hijacked, a deeper truth was waiting to unfold. The first whispers of this awakening might have arrived in dreams that rattled you awake, soaked in sweat, as you glimpsed an alternate reality where your gifts shone unimpeded. Or perhaps it was a sudden quiver of recognition when you saw your reflection in a mirror, as if a voice in your heart said, "Remember who you are." Gradually, those faint signals fused into a clear message. You are meant for far more than living under someone else's shadow. With each passing day, you sensed a rebellion brewing in your spirit. Old doubts and insecurities began to feel small, even trivial, compared to the vast reservoir of potential you'd once known so intimately. Intuition grew stronger. You found yourself seeing through lies you previously believed. No longer sedated by confusion, your mind felt alert, keen to reclaim every fragment of your rightful heritage. This awakening brought with it a shift in energy. Suddenly, it was easier to identify and avoid situations where people tried to drain you. You might have put boundaries in place, almost instinctively, distancing yourself from those who only wanted to leech your creative power. The same illusions that once seemed unbreakable now appeared flimsy, cracks forming where you never thought they could. The truth was coming to the surface, unstoppable as a flower pushing through concrete. Yet this reclamation wasn't without cost. You may have felt like you were waging an internal war, battling the part of you that learned to be helpless against the part of you that remembered your magnificence. Such conflict can be exhausting, especially when you're used to yielding your ground to maintain the peace. But you discovered a fierce clarity. Real peace cannot be forged on a foundation of stolen potential. Lasting harmony grows out of alignment with your true destiny. As you step deeper into this awakening, signs of transformation emerged in your daily life. Maybe a new ally appeared, offering insight or opportunity that felt almost tailor-made for you. Or tasks you once dreaded became surprisingly effortless, as though the cosmic rivers of fortune finally realigned themselves in your favor. Whatever the manifestation, you knew it was more than luck. It was your stolen destiny beginning to swirl back into your orbit, drawn by the magnetism of your renewed conviction. The time for passivity had ended, and a glorious restoration was on the verge of unfolding. Chapter 4. Restoration under divine timing. At first, the changes might have felt incremental. A lost passion reemerged, an old dream rekindled, or a chance encounter led to a door that had once been slammed shut. With each flicker of progress, you began to suspect that something far bigger was in motion, a process guided by an invisible clockwork that orchestrates all our lives. When your destiny started surfacing, it didn't just tiptoe back. It arrived with signs that left no doubt you were under the watchful hand of the divine. Maybe you found yourself stumbling upon information that perfectly addressed your struggles, or you received sudden bursts of energy and inspiration in the dead of night, penning ideas faster than you could keep up. These small miracles hinted that God, or however you conceive of that higher power, had heard your silent pleas. One by one, the strings of your life tugged into alignment, weaving a tapestry you'd almost cease believing you'd ever see. This restoration, however, was not about returning you to who you were before the theft. No, it was a rebirth, granting you an expanded version of yourself, someone who understood darkness firsthand, yet chose to stand in the light with renewed conviction. Often, the very act of losing everything we thought was ours forces us to realize our true strength. As your stolen destiny trickled back, it carried wisdom gleaned from the storms you survived. You might have seen tangible evidence that the illusions keeping you back were crumbling. Perhaps you witnessed the downfall of the very person who once appropriated your ideas, as if universal balance demanded reparation. Alternatively, your own successes multiplied in rounds you never expected, outpacing anything you'd achieved before. Each piece of good news arrived like a coded message from the cosmos, telling you, "We never forgot you. Your path was only delayed, not destroyed." Of course, an undercurrent of caution might still linger in your heart. You remembered all too well how quickly your future was snatched before, and so you found yourself placing greater care in how you shared your visions and creative sparks. You learned the subtle art of discernment, recognizing who is drawn to your light for genuine fellowship and who lurks in the shadows, poised to strip mine your gifts for their own gain. This caution, born of experience, became a powerful ally rather than a crippling fear. The tapestry of restoration continued to unfurl, revealing that your waiting period had transformed you into a more resilient, intuitive soul. No corner of your being remained naive to the ways of opportunists. You emerged with a sharper sense of mission, grounded in the knowledge that the hand of destiny doesn't just give second chances lightly. When it returns what was stolen, it does so with a surge of momentum, expecting you to run with it this time, full throttle, no excuses. And that was precisely what you intended to do. Chapter 5. Guardians of the New Path. Just as your momentum gathered, you noticed certain people gravitating toward you, some offering genuine support, others seeming to circle like vultures. Your instincts, honed by past betrayals, began to function like a spiritual radar, easily spotting manipulative agendas. In this phase, you realized you were becoming a guardian, not only of your own renewed destiny, but also of the fragile, flickering hope in others who might be on the brink of losing theirs. It's no secret that when your light intensifies, it can attract both admirers and adversaries. Those longing for warmth may approach, hoping your resurgence can spark their own. You felt an impulse to help because you remembered the stinging isolation of not knowing whom to trust. Yet at the same time, you carried the weight of self-preservation, understanding that not every soul is ready to honor the sanctity of another's calling. Through trial and error, you began forging boundaries, firm, clear lines that safeguarded your resurrected destiny from ever slipping through the cracks again. This took courage, especially if you'd been the type to give freely without question. But in stepping into your newfound role, you recognize that being a vessel of hope for others demands a strong foundation for yourself. Without it, you risk draining your own resources in the name of compassion. In these interactions, certain individuals stood out like kindred spirits. Their eyes reflected the same hunger for authenticity you felt. With them, you formed alliances rooted in mutual respect and a shared dedication to truth. Together, you might have collaborated on projects or lifted one another up during vulnerable moments, forging a camaraderie that breathed life into your evolving journey. Such connections were like fresh water in a desert, unexpected, but deeply sustaining. Simultaneously, a few from your past might have resurfaced, the very ones who once undermined your confidence. They could attempt to slither back with kind words, hoping to graze on your renewed brilliance. Yet you saw them with crystal clarity. Now you recognize that not everyone was meant to follow you into this new horizon. The power of choice pulls through your veins, reminding you that the greatest gift of your liberation was the freedom to decide who merits a seat at your table. As you gather these lessons, you found yourself stepping into a protector's role, guarding the potential that has finally been restored to you. You realized your destiny was no longer just yours to lose. It was a beacon for others who had been similarly trapped in a labyrinth of stolen dreams. This role asked of you a balance between generosity and discernment, compassion and firm resolve. And so, day by day, your identity as a chosen one solidified, founded on hard-earned insights and a renewed dedication to nurturing the spark of hope in every sincere heart that crossed your path. Chapter 6. Rebirth of the True Self. In the past, you might have believed that regaining your destiny would mean returning to who you once were. But as the flow of restoration continued, you discovered a revelation more potent and liberating. You had evolved beyond that former version of yourself. The theft of your destiny, painful though it was, forced a transformation that no ordinary journey could match. The signs of your rebirth began to appear in subtle ways. You started embracing the uniqueness of your gifts without seeking outside permission. You allowed your creativity to soar and found that your ideas came back twice as bold, twice as vivid. Any lingering sense of unworthiness dissolved under the steady rain of small triumphs. Positive feedback from those who genuinely valued your input, doors opening in places you least expected, or even random messages affirming your presence was needed in the world. As you leaned into this new identity, you marveled at how different the landscape of your mind had become. Gone was the tenant soul who feared losing everything. In its place, the warrior, shaped by trials and refined by failure. You realized you could no longer be satisfied with half measures or half truths. The life you once dreamt of now felt within reach, not because the path was easier, but because you were braver, stronger, and more committed to forging it. This sense of renewal also brought an intimate familiarity with your own shadows. You weren't interested in painting yourself as a flawless hero. You understood that pain had, at times, driven you to compromise or remain silent. Grief had sometimes urged you to hide rather than stand up. But the difference now was your acceptance of all these aspects of yourself. By making peace with your humanity, you allowed deeper healing to take root, ensuring your new foundation would be unshakable. People who encountered you sensed this change, even if they couldn't name it. There was a radiance in your eyes, a confidence in your words that spoke of heartbreak transcended and illusions shattered. Your every step seemed fueled by a current that pulsed from an unknown, yet potent source. Your destiny, once stolen, now restored and magnified. The more you embraced this resurrected power, the more it invited blessings previously unimaginable. Life's challenges didn't vanish. In fact, some grew more demanding. But now you wore every scar like a medal of honor. In quiet moments, you wondered how it was possible that the darkest nights had birthed the fiercest dawn within you. The answer was simple but profound. Your soul had been forced to look within and find the unbreakable parts. This is the essence of rebirth, understanding that the gifts you carry are forged in adversity, burnished by perseverance, and crowned by divine grace. You stood as living proof that when destiny is truly yours, not even the most cunning thief can keep it away forever. Chapter 7. The Light That Sustains. In the hush that follows great upheaval, you sense a subtle yet unmistakable vibration coursing through your life. It's the electric awareness that every day opens a door to uncharted possibilities. Your destiny, once hijacked and hidden from view, has come flooding back with greater force than you ever. What once seemed impossible now stands before you. A threshold where the future glows with promise, and your heart pulses with a conviction so strong that no darkness can ever dim it. You're not blind to the challenges of the world. You've seen how quickly illusions are woven, how even well-intentioned people can be misled by envy or complacency. Yet you also understand the profound, unshakable power that comes from living in harmony with your true calling. It's a force that can push back the shadows and light a fire in others just by being near them. This strength doesn't come from perfection, but from the depths of displacement you've faced, knowing that your essence can never truly be taken from you. The question now is how to protect this light, the living current of possibility, so it continues to light your way. You carry the wisdom of boundaries, a readiness to safeguard your spirit, and the discernment to share your gifts only where they can take root in fertile soil. You understand humility, knowing that true strength never demands others' submission, but instead invites them to rise with you. Sometimes a flicker of worry may haunt you. Could it all be taken away again? But each time that doubt creeps in, you remember the improbable way your destiny was restored against all odds. You recall the invisible forces that guided you to every lesson, even when you were mired in despair. That memory strengthens your faith, reminding you that a higher plan has crowned you with a purpose no one can steal. And so, here you are, reborn, radiant, and on the verge of a new chapter only you can write. Anyone who meets your eyes can sense the shift, a rare combination of humility and audacity, forged from the experience of facing emptiness and emerging victorious. You realize now that your journey can serve as a beacon for others, showing them that their own stolen dreams can be restored too. The journey continues, and with every breath, your destiny burns brighter. The next step is yours to take, bold, hesitant, glorious, uncertain, all at once. But you know it is guided by a truth you cannot deny. Once called, the chosen ones cannot be denied forever. This is the miracle, the battle cry, and the promise wrapped into one. No force can silence your soul's purpose now that it has found its way home. But maintaining this light requires trust in the quiet whispers of your inner knowing. At times, you'll stand at crossroads where the past feels clear and logical. Yet your intuition pulls you toward a path that seems hidden to the rational mind. Trust those nudges. They are the same signals that guided you through your darkest moments, showing you glimpses of freedom before it ever felt attainable. By honoring these subtle hints, you retain the flexibility to adapt, pivot, and seize new opportunities as they arise. Let gratitude become your daily fuel. Each sunrise you witness is a reminder that life endures, and so does your purpose. Every small blessing, be it a kind word from a friend or a peaceful moment beneath the stars, fortifies the unseen connections that sustain you. In doing so, you transform ordinary moments into fertile ground for miracles. The light you carry doesn't shine because you demand it, but because you've chosen to nurture its flame. From this vantage, you see how the scars and setbacks that once seemed to derail you ultimately led you to discover a force no adversity could quench. That force is your authentic essence, the part of you that resonates with the divine flow of life. As you keep this essence free of doubt and negativity, it will multiply, igniting others in turn. And in that shared illumination lies the true power of the chosen one, to stand as living proof that when darkness seeks to claim the story, light always finds a way to write its own radiant ending.